You ever step on the scale, see the same number, and think, damn, I guess I'm just going to be fat forever. What is the point? Well, good news, the number is not always telling you the whole story. So if you're trying to lose fat and build muscle, well, we've got 3 essential ways to truly track that body recomposition so that you actually know if you're making gains or just getting really good at sucking in your stomach. We've got the team with me today. I'm going to bring them in, 2 professionals, and they're gonna break this down for you and tell you just exactly what you need to be paying attention to. So stay till the end, because actually what we're gonna get started on as I bring the team in here, we've got Justin with us and Gab with us as always. So before we get to the 3 essential things people should be doing, I actually want to start on the things that they shouldn't be paying attention to. Not that you probably wouldn't tell them to not use them at all. But the first one is probably the most obvious and the most used out of all of them is the scale. So tell me, Gab, what is the issue with the scale here?
Well, Joel, the scale is a frenemy, right? We love it. We hate it. It tells us some stuff. And what we do with that is going to really kind of make or break our relationship. The scale is going to tell you how much you weigh. And how much you weigh does not indicate how much body fat you have. And that's really what we want to change, right? We want to have more muscle. We want to have less fat. What you weigh has not always as much to do with that as you might think. If you are somebody who is working out a lot and gaining muscle, you are going to weigh more. Even if you lose fat, you may still end up weighing more. If you are eating a lot of sodium, you may get on the scale and have a number that indicates you've gained 2, 3, 4 pounds overnight. You haven't. All of these things, hormones, stress, sleep, they're all going to impact how heavy you are, not tell you anything about what that weight is made of, how much of it is fat, how much is muscle, and how much is water. And we are like 70% water. So it's going to have an impact. The scale is good data. It is not the most important data.
Nice. So, Justin, have you ever had athletes, even maybe like on the elite level, to where, like, have you ever told them like, hey, don't even worry about weighing yourself? Or have you had any conversations like that before?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. The thing with the scale and why it can be useful is, or why it's used so widely, is because, one, it's pretty inexpensive. I mean, compared to a DEXA scan or BodPod or something else out there, it's pretty inexpensive. And 2, you get the data like this. You step on and the data point is right there, right? The problem is our mind plays a lot of tricks on us when it comes to things like body recomposition, building muscle, or even not looking at the trends using the scale when it comes to fat loss, right? And so for athletes, we measure things a lot differently and a lot more of an important base number of metrics to let us know if the results we're seeing and the trends we're seeing are true. I wouldn't say I discourage any athletes to necessarily weigh, but it depends on their relationship with the scale, with their body. And for every athlete, that's a little bit different.
Yeah. So I remember, Gab, a couple times on my weigh-ins, like I had like sushi one time and, had some like soy sauce and stuff. I like that number like ballooned up all of a sudden. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So yeah, so you helped, talk me down, right? You're like, hey,
Yeah.
listen, this is probably just water. You're good, dude. Like, relax.
Yeah. And conversely too, like when I train for a marathon in the summer and I go for a long run, oftentimes my running coach will have me weigh myself before and weigh myself after, so I know how much I need to hydrate. It's not necessarily like, even though it is very volatile in terms of like how, sensitive it is to changes in hydration, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. All right. The next thing to not hold at the top of the pedestal of things to pay attention to is body fat percentage. So you mentioned a couple of those, different types of scans. So Gab, I know that you said that you told me beforehand that you did some research on this. So what's the issue with body fat percentage? I thought we were supposed to keep track of that.
The idea behind the body fat percentage is not that knowing your body fat percentage is bad. It's by all accounts a pretty cool thing. The problem is that you can't actually know your body fat percentage unless you were laid out on a table, cut open, and had all of your fat taken out. Like everything that we
That
use
does not sound like
to,
a process I want to do.
it's not a good day. You're not looking forward to that. The ways that we measure our body fat, they're all estimations based on different equations. And each of the common methods that we use to get our body fat measurements use different equations. So InBody is very common, DEXA, BOD, they're all using their own proprietary equations to get your body fat percentage and your muscle percentage and, et cetera, lean, dry mass, whatnot. The problem is they all operate in different ways. So InBody uses like electrical impulses throughout the body. BOD is a little different. DEXA includes like an MRI component. They're all a little different. And the way that you use them is going to depend on the results you get. So just like I said with the scale, you step on it, you had some sodium, you're going to read heavier because you're retaining water. The problem with a machine like an InBody, which is super easy to use, is that if you're retaining water, it has to assume that that extra water is either fat or muscle. And it's probably not going to assume that it's muscle, right? So you're going to get a reading that is going to be totally off because you ate a little bit of extra salt last night. Or if you have had caffeine recently, if you have trained recently. Famously, the InBody relies on you being exactly 72% water. And most of the time, those of us that are humans, right, are not always 72%. We're a little high some days, we're a little low some days, and that's going to throw everything off. So if you are married to the number that you are getting from one of these equations, you're worshiping a false god. Like it's not always going to give you an accurate representation of what you're doing. And if you let that number, dictate whether or not you feel good in your body, then you're going to be really deeply disappointed at least 50% of the time.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe if you have a little extra salt the night before, or if you eat a bunch of sushi, then it's going to throw the number off.
Yeah, and you've got to do it like first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Like it's such a pain. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing then is kind of really like popular with modern medical everything, right? It seems like it's everything with our current medical system. It's the BMI, the body mass index. So Justin, why should we stop paying attention to the BMI?
Yeah, the body mass index has been well known for a really long time, and it's used, or its presumption is to be used to help understand and assess whether a person has a healthy body based on their weight and their height, right? So BMI is equal to your weight divided by your height times 703 or something like that, right? Obviously, this has a lot of limitations, right? Because it doesn't differentiate at all between fat and muscle, very much like the scale, right? It makes things a lot less accurate than a lot of other systems and screening tools out there, which we'll get into here in a minute. And it doesn't really measure body composition, right? It's just basically a random standard that was created years ago that has to do with someone's height versus someone's weight. So you can imagine someone being shorter or taller and being absolutely ripped and jacked and being a higher body weight, and that disturbing their BMI score or making it a lot higher, right? And that is why it tends to be widely inaccurate for people, especially now, since so many people are focused on building muscle, and their weight is directly corollary to that.
All right, there you go. So you can calculate it, but what is it really telling you is kind of what you need to ask yourself when you do it. So, all right. So if you want help on understanding why those three things shouldn't be important to you, because like I told you, Gab had to talk me down. She had to calm me down when that scale wasn't reading right. Click the link in the description and talk to CBG and figure out how and learn how they can help you out with those things. And also, I forgot this house cleaning thing. Make sure you subscribe to this video if you're not subscribed to it. All right, and if you haven't given it a like yet, give it a like because Gab said so. So there you go. All right, so let's get to the three things that you should pay attention to and that you really should hold more weight. Hey, did you see that? You see what I did there? Hold more weight towards. All right, so the first thing is, now this one man, this one is not fun as someone that does not like to take pictures of myself. The progress pics, don't want to do it. But why is it important, Gab?
Well, Joel, what are most of us here for, right? We want to look better. And if somebody told me that they could give me the body of my dreams, but it was going to be really heavy and people were going to have a hard time picking me up, I'd be like, listen, I'll live the rest of my life without being picked up. I want to look good. And so being able to compare your progress week over week over week, month over month is really important, because you may be getting heavier. You may be, seeing things on the scale that upset you. But if you look better, I've never seen somebody's attitude change as quickly as when they see a bad number on the scale, but an awesome progress photo.
Yeah. 100%. And that was part of too, I think, how you talked me down was, I think, because I think my progress pic was due that same time maybe. And you sent the original side by side and I was like, oh, okay. I am. Consistency does work. Consistency.
God works in mysterious ways, Joel,
All right. So progress pics, that's the next one. And then measurements. So this requires a little bit. Oh, I spilled the beans already. Measurements. Taking measurements. I was trying to build it up. But yeah, but like you said, Justin, the thing with the scale, it's like an instant reading, right? It gives you instant data, where measurements require some work. Who wants to do the extra work? But why is it important, Justin, to do that extra work?
Yeah. I mean, the good news is that measurements are free too, right? You just need something to, wrap around your quad, right? Wrap around your leg. But yeah, no, it's important because, measuring this over time is going to give us more information about the different size of our waist versus our arms versus our legs and our quads and other areas that we're trying to spot enhance muscle in, but also lose body fat in as well, right? And so in that way, measurements help us keep track consistently over time, whether our body composition is changing a lot more accurately than a lot of the other systems out there. Now, it's not perfect, but we can get a lot of data from measurements of our overall body composition in alignment with some of those progress pics at the same time.
All right. So then the last one, how your clothes fit. So these, we've got progress pics, we've had measurements, and now it's kind of like, how does your actual clothes fit? Are they getting looser? Or if you're trying to put on muscle, maybe, that sleeve got a little bit tighter on your bicep, because you've been hitting them curls or something. But yeah, so tell us about how your clothes fit.
I mean, that is the ultimate comparison, right? You've had a pair of jeans that you've been wearing forever, and all of a sudden they're a little bit looser. There's nothing, there's no magic there. It's very hard to quantify that. I mean, you could do measurements, right? But that is the simplest way to say, oh, your body is changing. Something is happening. So, I think as humans, we like data and we want to overcomplicate things and we want numbers and we want science. But how do your pants fit? Are they as tight as they used to be? Okay, then we're doing something right. Everything else is just, this an equation that we've deemed is all lofty and important. But if you look better in photos, if your waist is a little bit smaller and your pants are a little bit looser, we're on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think these last three, what you guys pointed out about these last three, it sounds like these last three versus compared to the other three is these last three, you can't really manipulate, or you can't really, there's no way to mess up the numbers or adjust them or something. Your progress picks are your progress picks. I mean, I guess you could, maybe if you're pushing out in one and then sucking in the other, if you're not being honest about it the way that you're doing, I guess you could do that, but that's on you. But yeah, I always tried to wear, I had the same shorts, and those were my progress pick shorts, and I wore those same shorts and tried to stand I made sure I knew where I was standing in the exact same place. Okay, my wife was standing in the exact same place on front of the same wall, so the lighting was always, I tried to make everything the same, so that there was no manipulation of anything, or that I wasn't being fooled by anything. And so you can't really fool progress pics if you're doing them with integrity. You can't fool the measurements. They are what they are. And then how your clothes fit, like you said, that's the last one that really, they're going to fit how they're going to fit, no matter what the scale says or whatever. That's ultimately, you can't fool your clothes. The jeans are kind of the same no matter what. So there you guys have it. there are your 3 essential ways. So, one thing about these 3 metrics is accountability, making sure that you get enough fuel, and then really, if you get with a CBG coach, they're going to help guide you through all this and through the basics of the nutrition. So, if you want help with that, if that sounds like, hey, you know what, I need to take this next step to do those things and stop paying attention so much to the scale, then you need to click the link in the description. Get with CBG and talk with them. Learn how they can help you, because they can do that. So that's all we got for you today. So for Justin, for Gab, I'm Joel, and we're all telling you to quit tracking macros and stay consistent out there. We'll see you next time. Peace out.